Hey everybody, Mark over here at Twanger's Turntable. I hope you're all doing well. If you're new to my channel, thanks for stopping by. I hope you find something you'll dig. What you see is kind of what you get. I'll just sit here and talk about records like most of us do in the vinyl community. Jump on a thread here and there, and that's exactly why I'm here today. I'll get to that in a moment. Cheers, everyone. All my family and friends back in PEI. Mom, I'm thinking about you. Love you. And those of returning, you know the drill, you know me, how it works here. I do a video when I have time to do a video, and that's the case here. So jumping on a couple of threads, I'll combine two. We'll call it the R&R. So are you ready? Yeah. My little puns, hope you enjoy that. I do. And something else that starts with R here. No, it's not rum. It's root beer. Anybody else still like that old A&W root beer? I love it. Anyway, that's what I'm drinking today. So completely on the straight. So yeah, let's get to it. A couple of threads, as I mentioned. I'm going to combine two. One is the alphabet thread. So I just, I'm on the letter R. I pull a bunch of titles starting with R. And that'll combine with my other thread and that was started by Jacob. I haven't seen his channel. I don't know what the status is, but I'm going to continue on. Some of us are soldiering on. Well, most of the people, aside from myself, I think, have finished it. I know Kim over at This Is Music is still doing his. And actually, Jack Vinyl Martini was doing his, which I'll get to as well. So a couple of indirect shout-outs. So yeah, Jacob and his alphabet thread. I'll combine that with my buddy Mike. Mike over at MGK Boston started the thread. Now I'm a little bit behind on this. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Show 5 albums from when you were 13. Now I'm not going to say specifically what year that is. I mean, if you're observant enough, I think you'll pick out the year by I'll give you a hint by the display that I've set up behind me. I tend to change my records from time to time. But the ones I'm going to show aren't necessarily from the year I was from the year I turned 13. But there's certainly albums I would have been listening to when I was 13. But most of them would be in that wheelhouse because the other thing I tried to do when I stuck with the letter R was well, number one, I don't frankly have a lot of albums from when I was 13 that start with R. So that narrowed it down pretty easily. But I do have a few. So let's get to it. If you've not been to Mike's channel, go and check him out. Subscribe. I can't imagine you have not been. Jacob, I don't know the status of him. I hope he's doing okay, and maybe we'll see him return with a channel. But until then, we'll just start. And the one thing that I have to mention here, because I got a chuckle out of it, and it's endearing. Mike, as many of you know who know Mike, his parents started a little later on in life, so I don't think Mike actually knows what year he was born, because when he started this thread, he said show records from when you were 12 or 13. And I believe he was doing 1981, so I don't know if he knows what year he was born. I kid, of course, Mike. Hope you and the family are all doing well. God bless. So let's get to it. Yeah, we'll start with the alphabet thread. So I'm just going to show a few R's. I won't say a whole hell of a lot about any of them, but they were 5 albums I was listening to when I was 13. First up is a Canadian act, Red Rider, As Far As I Am. Probably best known for the lead-off track here, Lunatic Fringe. Great album. Tom Cochrane would later go on to do a solo career, quite successful, at least in Canada. Actually, I think he had a pretty good following in the US as well. But sorry about the glare. I'm using my spotlight today because it's a little bit overcast, so it's a little dark. So yeah, As Far As I Am, Red Rider. That would have been something I was listening to at 13. Next up, and I mentioned I was going to get back to Jack over at the Vinyl Martini. He was showing a Canadian band, yesterday when he was doing his thread. I believe it was yesterday, that hold the distinction of a recording that's called direct to disc. Now, they called it Rough Trade Live. So yeah, it's Rough Trade. This is their first kind of studio album, although the other one was studio. It's just what for those who don't know, direct to disc, they're basically recording it live, and as they're recording, it's being cut to disc. So from what I've read, it's a relatively tricky process, and I think it could probably be quite expensive too, because I don't know how many takes they go through. But yeah, I mean, there's silence in between the tracks, and you can hear a little miss up here and there, but it's so authentic. It's so cool, and I think they hold the distinction of being the first band to ever do that, direct to disc, and that would have been in '76. And no, the album's not called Umbrella. That was the label that they were under. I should have pulled up a picture. There was my opportunity. Oh well, I didn't do a whole lot of planning before shooting this video, as you will see. I'm not going to be editing. I don't want to do a reshoot, so it is what it is. But anyway, this was the one I would have been listening to at 13. I believe this came out in 81 or 1980 perhaps. And Avoid Freud. Yeah, High School Confidential would have been the one that was getting all the attention off of this. Great album, nonetheless. I won't say a whole lot more about that. If you haven't heard it, I'd recommend it for sure. Next up, probably don't need to say much about this artist. Cliff Richard, Rock and Roll Juvenile. Been around since '59 with the Drifters. And yeah, this would have been the first album I think I purchased, but not the first time I heard him, obviously. He'd been around so long. I mean, I think he holds the distinction of being the biggest selling artist in the UK. Maybe only second to Elvis or tied with Elvis. I don't know, but it's a massive number anyway. Like 100 songs that have been on the charts. I don't even know. That might even be 100 top 20. Anyway, the one that really stuck out to me on this was We Don't Talk Anymore. And funny enough, I read that that song almost didn't make this album. It was the last song to be added to the album after they had released that tune, We Don't Talk Anymore, as a single. And it charted, so they released it on the album. And yeah, good album. 1980 on that one, I believe. That was 1979, I think. I dropped my glasses here, guys. Bear with me, because I can't see without them. So, need a cheater. 79, yeah. But still, I mean, I would have been listening to that at 13. I think it was probably the tail end of '79. It was released, so 1980, 81, it was still getting lots of spins. Yeah, there's that one. Number 3 for my albums listening to at 13. Starting with our next up, probably the biggest of them all for that period, and REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity, like 15 odd weeks at number 1, 10 million copies. Everybody knows this album. Well, not necessarily everybody. If you don't know this album, check it out. Certainly it's going to have moved the meter differently for some of us than others, but certainly a huge part of my youth, around 13. Couldn't go anywhere without hearing this played, whether on the airwaves or a friend's house or whatever it was at school. But yeah, I think it was the biggest seller of 1981 and continued to be within the top 50 in 1982 even. It was just massive. But yeah, REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity. Last but certainly not least, another great one by a band that had been around, you know, for almost as long as Cliff Richard. Not quite, but early 60s. And of course, I'm talking about the Rolling Stones, Emotional Rescue. Great album. In fact, the sessions for this album went so well. They had material left off that appeared on the 1981 release. Tattoo You. I can't point over there, but here I go. Yeah, Tattoo You. 1981. There were some tracks that they recorded during these sessions. But probably best known for Emotional Rescue and She's So Cold. I mean, there's a lot of great tracks on here, but Charlie Watts was always just, what do I need to say? Rest in peace. He's such an amazing drummer, always in the pocket. Just knew what to play. He's one of those like Ringo Starr drummers where it doesn't seem like they're doing much, but I don't know. Try playing it. That's all I can say to people. Anyway. Next up, keeping with the letter R. So that's my 5 I was listening to when I was 13 for MGK Boston. Mike, hope you enjoyed that, buddy. I'll get those postcards off to you. Like I said, one of these days. I haven't sent them yet, but I was thinking of maybe trying to bundle it together with something else. We'll see. So yeah, keeping with the letter R, the debut by Rush. I mean, no, it doesn't have Neil Peart. It's got John Rutsey, was actually a great rock drummer, in my opinion. Again, rest in peace, both of them now. But certainly the roots of Rush. This is unlike most any other Rush. If you've only heard Rush, 2112 or Hemispheres, or even the '80s stuff, Hold Your Fire, stuff like that, Roll the Bones, nothing like this. This is just straight blues rock, very heavily influenced by Zeppelin, Blue Cheer, their idols from Yes and stuff like that. It's not prog rock. I don't want to mislead you, but just you can certainly hear their early influences on this, Zeppelin. But yeah, great album. Some would suggest their best album. I'm not so sure I'm in that camp, but I don't rank albums, so I just dig it. I love it. Next up, City to City by Gerry Rafferty. Of course, most anybody familiar with this album will know the Baker Street, Right Down the Line, but they're all great tracks. Love this one. Another one for letter R. If you've not heard it, as I mentioned, I would suggest most Gerry Rafferty is worth a listen, but that's my opinion. To each their own. Whatever floats your boat. Another debut here from a band I much more popular from their '80s stuff, Fire Down Below and whatnot. But this is their debut, Rock City, with their original vocalist Guy Speranza. Love, hate, whatever it is. I actually prefer. I shouldn't say I prefer. I really like this album. It's maybe not as heavy as what they would become known for. This is the reissue from a few years ago. What is this? 2018, 2019, something like that. It's on the clear vinyl, but it sounds really good. I was happy with it. 2015. What? That would have been around the time I was just getting back into vinyl. So, but yeah, originally released 1977, and of course that logo that I don't think necessarily did them a whole lot as far as, kids, especially when you're 13, 14, you're looking at new records, you see that, certainly would grab your attention. But when you're comparing that to something like, Killers or, Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love, things like that, I don't know. I guess that's very subjective. Next up, probably my favorite album by this band, but doesn't contain my favorite song by them on this album. Just probably, again, because it was my first exposure to this band, and it's their second. I believe it's their second. Again, I'm not an expert on these guys. I don't consider myself an expert at anything other than what I do for a living, and that is got nothing to do with this. Road to Ruin, the Ramones are second. I believe the first with Marky Ramone on drums. But yeah, probably my favorite Ramones song would be Blitzkrieg Bop, and that's their first album. And this is a reissue again, but I love this one. In fact, I probably like everything on here. I know the big one is I Want to Be Sedated, but the entire thing is good. If you've not heard it, I suggest that you're not complete in your musical education without hearing this album by the Ramones. But hey, that's one man's opinion, and it's all it is meant to be. And then I'll round it out with a couple here I got recently. I had these from the day they were released on compact disc and always wanted them on vinyl, and they just reissued them this year. So I pre-ordered them, and they finally arrived in March, just a month ago, I guess. But it's both of the Rock on Tours, of course, if you know the White Stripes, Jack White, and the stuff he did with other acts. Consolers of the Lonely, Broken Boy Soldier, very good. This one is still sealed. I should have grabbed the one that I opened. For some reason, I got 2 copies of that. This one is on a single vinyl. They split this one up into 2 LP. So maybe I'll send it out to a good friend out in the vinyl community somewhere and package that together. But yeah, good stuff. If you like White Stripes, well, I shouldn't say that because I don't necessarily think these sound like the White Stripes. The only commonality they have is Jack White, but they have a sound of their own. So check them out. It's really good stuff, in my opinion. And then I'll almost round it out, but just an honorable mention for for stuff I would have been listening to when I was 13. It's a compilation. It's a Canadian release by the Canadian Recording Industry Association, where they just did a compilation with a bunch of Canadian acts. You can't see that because of the glare, so let me pull that out. Maybe you can see it now. It was under the CBS record label, but it is a Canadian Recording Industry's own label, or that's what's on there. So it just features, you know, Canadian acts that they were promoting at the time: April Wine, BTO, Good Brothers, Harlequin, Loverboy, Max Webster, Minglewood Band, Prism, Red Rider, as I mentioned, Rough Trade, as I mentioned, Rush, as I mentioned. Who else is on here? Streetheart, Trooper, Toronto. Toronto would have been one of my favorite bands when I was 13, due to my older brother. By that time, I had a couple other albums. Their debut, Looking for Trouble, and Head On, the follow-up in 80. I think both of those came out in 1980, actually, and then Get It On Credit would have been 82. But anyway, yeah, just a compilation. And last but not least, I will be doing a video where I unbox this. It's something I got actually for over Christmas. First one I got was damaged, and I did do a video. So when I get around to doing an actual unboxing of this video, I'll just I'll edit both, a little bit of both into that one video. But yeah, it's the RCA, or the Atlantic Years of Rat, their box set here with their albums on there. And so yeah, I'll probably do an unboxing of that here in the coming days, whenever that will be. Like I say, I did receive it and sent it back because it had like something had fallen on it and punctured the outer box. All the vinyl and everything were in good condition, but for the price, I knew it was a Christmas gift that I sent it back and got this one. This one looks to be in fine order. So I'll do a unboxing of that. So that's it. I'll end it off just with a couple of shout outs of some new channels. One of the channels I was introduced to by Jack at Vinyl Martini, and that's Daryl, the Northern Vinyl Guy. Go check him out, sub him up if you've not. He does mostly Canadian content, Northern Vinyl Guy, because he's way up in Northern Ontario, from what I understand. And also Craig over at the Spirit of Vinyl, relatively new. I see he just rolled over 50 subs, but go check these guys out. Good additions to the vinyl community. I mean, it's so vast. There's always new channels popping up, and that's how most of us get started. We just share the word, spread the word that there's another channel out there to check some stuff out and see what they're doing and presenting, and it's all fun. It doesn't cost anything. Just hit the subscribe, hit the like, whatever. And if you enjoyed what I did here, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on. I've seen a lot of the videos of other people, what they were listening to when they were 13, and really enjoyed this thread. Mike is a good thread. He seemed to have a knack for that. The knack? No, I wouldn't have been 13, but I certainly would have been listening to them at 13. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I'm going to say for today. I might get around to doing another video, or maybe another alphabet thread, the letter S or something. Combine them, couple together, as Jack did. I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. Hope to see you again soon. We'll do an outro of a cheers as well. And check out my buddy Steve and Trevor and Marcia. I think they're doing their Sunday night video here. I should have wore his shirt. Anyway, that's it. Take care, everybody. I hope to see you again soon here at Twanger's Turntable. Cheers.